What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for tuning in again. My name is Leon, and this is XP to Level Up, where you get the experience you need to get to the next level in your life. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe if you're new. And today, guys, we're going to be talking about the best way to meal prep. Now, guys, when I first started meal prepping on my fitness journey, oh my God, it was a mess. It was such a mess. I had no guidance besides the few YouTube videos that I watched. I had nobody that sat there and told me, like, okay, this is how you do it, this is how you should do it. So I kind of learned on my own how to do it. And so I'm here to explain to you guys the best way that I feel like you should do it based on what I did, so you don't have to spend all that time in agony trying to figure out a plan. So when I started, guys, I had no plan. I kind of did it. I was so determined at the time to do it that I didn't really care when I did it. I just had to get it done, which is obviously good, but that's exhausting because for me, when I first started, guys, I was working night shifts, and I would go to the gym after work, and I would come all the way back home, and then I would cook until like 2, 3 in the morning, and then sleep and wake up like right before work at like 1, 2 p.m. And obviously that's not productive. So my best suggestion, guys, is you see, because meal prepping in total, depending on how much food you're making, like let's say you're making, because usually breakfast is obviously most of the time going to be made in person, like every day on the spot, because you're waking up and you're at home and you're available during those first few hours of the day. So breakfast, I feel like, is really not something that you necessarily need to meal prep unless you're like really on the go, like you're waking up like crack of dawn and you're off to work like ASAP, and you just don't have time or whatever, or you're just, you know, super booked up or whatever the case. Then, I mean, there are certain things that you can prep, you know, like you can make like some like breakfast burritos with like egg whites and stuff like that, and just store them in the freezer and just pop them out in the morning and eat it, and, you know, get you some coffee or whatever the case, and then be out on your way. But most of the time, guys, breakfast is that meal where it's I mean, for me personally, breakfast is always like always kind of like sacred and special to me. Like I always wake up and I have this incredible French toast recipe that I make that's super high in protein and super low in calories, and it tastes super good. So I always look forward to making that every morning, and so I always make sure that I have time to make that every morning. But again, so breakfast is kind of one of those things that you don't necessarily need to, I feel like, really plan ahead for, because you usually have time in the morning to make breakfast. And a lot of the kinds of breakfasts that you're going to be making during your being a beginner in meal prepping are going to be very simple, basic meals, right? I'm talking egg whites, I'm talking oatmeal, very simple things that take less than 10 minutes to make. So anyway, so breakfast is one of those things that you don't really need to worry about too much. But when it comes to like your 2 meals during the day and your dinner, this is where it becomes important, because a lot of us are obviously have jobs and we go to work. So we need these, you know, those 2 meals throughout the day, because generally when you're trying to like lose weight or you're trying to start a fitness journey, it's best for you, my stuttering ass, it's best for you to start with 4 to 5 meals a day, right? Because if you're eating 4 to 5 meals a day that are packed with fiber and protein, it's gonna allow you to restrict your calories a lot easier, because you're full from every meal and you don't need to snack a crap load, right? Like you don't need to eat a whole bunch of chips or eat a whole bunch of calories of any kind, because you're stuffed and you're full from the meal that you had, and thus you can wait that 3 hours until the next meal, or however long that may be. So generally, you're going to be, the meal prepping that you're going to be doing, that you're going to be storing in the fridge or in the freezer, these are going to be the meals that you are eating on the go, that you do not have time to make. So these are going to be the meals that they're eating on your break times at work or whatever the case, right? So for me, guys, what I always like to do was I would like to pick 1 to 2 days a week, or no, about 2 days a week, and I would cook for 3 days in advance, because most foods don't last longer than 3 days after they're cooked, and if they do, they taste like crap. So generally, I like to set aside, when you're first starting out, I would set aside about 3 to 4 hours, guys, because a lot of you that are first starting to meal prep don't know what you're doing. And so when you don't know what you're doing in something, it takes more time because you're fixing errors and mistakes, and you're just accommodating for a lack of organization because you don't know what you're doing, right? So I'd say, give yourself a day, whether it's a day off from work, or let's say like you work a night shift, maybe you get up early, or a morning shift, you get off work and you do it at night. Put like 3 to 4 hours aside of like, okay, I'm gonna bust out all my meals, right? So you cook for the next, 3 to 4 days. Then when that 3 to 4 days is up, you do it again, and so on and so on and so on and so on. And when you're going shopping for groceries, obviously, I believe that before you get into the super advanced meal prepping, where you're making things that are like absolutely delicious and you're like excited to eat, I feel like it's really good to get started with the basics. So this is like the chicken, broccoli, and rice type deal. I feel like these are good practice foods to learn how to make, because you're going to be including these kinds of foods in a lot of things that you're going to be making in the future. So it's good to become a master at cooking things like chicken and pork and stuff like that, to where to where you look forward to it because of how good you know how to make it, right? So so when you're going grocery shopping, guys, you want to get things in bulk. You obviously want to get things that that can be stored for long periods of time. Pretty much anything that goes bad in the fridge, besides like produce and shit, anything that can go bad in the fridge can last longer in the freezer. So if, let's say, you're trying to make chicken for the next 3 days, but you have a whole bunch of chicken, all you got to do is just take the chicken that you're not using for those 3 days and put it in the freezer, and then make sure a day before you cook your next 3 meals, you take out the chicken that you need and you put it in the fridge to de-thaw, right? Because if you don't have your food de-thawed in time, it's going to screw up everything, because it takes a lot of time to de-thaw meats, especially if they're all bunched together. Like, let's say you get like an 8-pack of chicken. If you don't de-thaw that in enough time, which can sometimes take up to 3 days of being in the fridge to de-thaw, because I don't really like to de-thaw things under hot water, because I feel like it kind of ruins it a little bit. So make sure that you get your de-thaw times right, because if you don't, it's going to throw a big wrench into what you're trying to do. So let's see. So I think, honestly, guys, in reality, the best way to meal prep is to just experiment. You have to figure out the foods that you like, figure out a way to make them less calories and higher in protein and fiber, because at the end of the day, guys, the only macronutrients that matter when it comes to building muscle and losing weight, or even gaining weight, and putting muscle on, is fiber and protein, right? Carbs and fats are obviously good to eat, for their own reasons. You obviously need carbs for energy, and you obviously need fats for energy as well, and for proper brain function and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, I mean, a lot of people that try to track macros, which means pretty much you're tracking the amount of macronutrients that you're taking in every day. Honestly, guys, I've noticed with a lot of people, including myself, that when you try to track your macronutrients every day, it's very tedious and exhausting. It's much easier to just follow this simple method, and that is, if you're eating 4 to 5 meals a day, make sure you're getting a good source of protein in every single meal, and you'll be fine. Because a lot of things that have protein in it have fiber in it, especially if you're getting in your greens every day. Whether that just be some simple spinach or whatever the case, greens have fiber in it, guys. And there's a lot of things out there that are fiber boosted. Make sure to look out for those. Like, for example, I like to eat wraps a lot, so I get fiber wraps that are full of fiber, so that way it'll keep me full. But just things like that, guys. I mean, fiber and protein are the most essential macronutrients. And depending on what your body weight is and what your needs are, that's obviously going to fluctuate how much protein you need every day. So figure out what that number is. So like, let's say for me, I weigh 200 pounds, so I need to eat about 200 grams of protein every day. That's the simplest way to look at it. Not this 1.5 grams per pound, not this 0.7, 5 pounds, 1 pound per body weight, guys. You eat that every day and you will see gains. You will see muscle gains, you will see weight loss because you're eating less calories. Because in most lean proteins, there's not a lot of calories. Like for example, in an 8-ounce chicken breast, there's like, I think, less than 400 calories, guys. But there's like 40 to 50 grams of protein. So just stuff like that. Once you start learning about things like that, guys, and you start learning about the foods that you actually enjoy, and you learn lower calorie versions of them, then that's how you end up creating a plan that will last you a lifetime, guys. Because when you're trying to lose weight, especially if you're trying to lose a lot of weight really fast because you're super overweight, or you're looking for that quick way, right? Because that's advertised all over fitness, is a quick way to do something, the magic pill. But the reality is, guys, is that any kind of quick fix that you get, you'll end up rebounding on and going back to where you were at, because what you had was a very temporary, overly restrictive, suffrage type diet. And then once you lose all that weight, ghrelin is just going to kick your ass, which is pretty much a simple way to describe what ghrelin is a chemical that pretty much produces the feeling of hunger when your body is low on nutrients. So if you're just overly restrictive, ghrelin is going to kick your ass once you've lost all that weight and you're lean or whatever, and you want to go back to a normal diet, but you don't know where else to go besides this chicken, broccoli, and rice. And so you end up just suffering, and you end up rebounding, and you end up gaining that weight back. You get pudgy again. And let me tell you guys, if you do that kind of shit, and you look in the mirror, and you go from being lean and strong to fat and overweight again in a short time, it's gonna mess up your head, guys. It's gonna mess up your head. Your self-esteem and your confidence is just gonna go like this, and it's not fun. So what I recommend is, if you need to start with something that's overly restrictive or whatever the case to make you feel like you're going to see the progress that you need to see in a short amount of time, because that's what drives you, then go for it. But after that, like first 1 to 3 months, guys, you're going to need something that you actually look forward to and enjoy to some degree. I mean, obviously in eating healthy, that there's going to be a level of discipline to where you're obviously not going to be able to eat, pizza and ice cream all the time, right? There's obviously going to be a certain level of discipline where you're not going to, be eating crap all the time. But shockingly enough, guys, if you do enough research and you look in the right areas, you'll notice that a lot of this crap that we eat, there's a lot of low-calorie alternatives to it. It's just simply a matter of creating it with your own ingredients. So once you start to unlock that kind of knowledge, and you start to really experiment, and you start to figure out, like, okay, like for example, French toast. Who doesn't like French toast, right? But a lot of times when you eat French toast, guys, it's like over 1,000 calories because of all the bullshit that's in it. But if you make French toast the way that I make it, which is practically, literally, it's so simple. It's just egg whites, like some vanilla extract, some cinnamon, and some 0-calorie syrup mixed in with like a scoop of protein. I mix all that in together, guys, and then I get some regular ass white bread, which is like 70 to 80 calories each, and then I stack up about 5 of them, and then once they're finished, I top it off with some 0-calorie syrup, and then I pair it with like a banana, and it's an incredibly filling and delicious meal for like 600 calories, okay? And to me, that's just mind-boggling. I never thought up until recently that was even possible. And now I feel like once I start learning more of techniques and recipes in that area, that I'm gonna end up creating a diet for myself that's super packed with protein for the gains that I'm trying to get in my life. and it's the diet that I actually look forward to. And guys, nutrition is 90% of the battle. If you are able to figure out a nutrition plan that works for you, that you actually enjoy, that is the key to unlocking real success in fitness. All right, guys. So thank you so much for watching. If you felt like you got something from this, if you learned something new, please leave a like. Make sure to comment down below and tell me what you think. Tell me if you have, any ideas for beginners and meal prepping, or whatever the case may be. Anything. Comment down below, and make sure to subscribe for new content posted as much as I can find the time to make, guys. So thank you so much for watching again, and I'll see you guys in the next episode.